Hi everyone, I'm Natalia. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about storytelling using oracle decks in particular, and just storytelling in general for journaling, and two decks that I've been using that have been so helpful to me. One of them I just recently found. It's not a new deck, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it, so I wanted to share that with all of you. I know that a lot of us love to journal. Racine just did. I'm gonna link below a video on journaling as well for all of you. I'll link it below. It's a really great video on her process. I love journaling. I've been talking about journaling on this channel for some time. And one of the things I expressed is my struggle with journaling in general. I am one of those people, maybe one of you, that's really struggled over the years to journal. What I mean by struggle is I would sit down and I would have my beautiful journal, and I'm a very stationary person. I would have my beautiful pen, and the minute I started to write, I would find myself stuck. I wouldn't know what to write. I wouldn't know what to express. Usually I would journal on my tarot readings, and my journaling would be quite banal. It would be pretty much description of the cards, description of messages, and it wouldn't go deeper, almost as if there is a block. And I've been trying to break that block over the years. And maybe you're like me. I would say probably sometime last year is when the block finally broke. I can't really tell you exactly what broke the block, other than somehow I was just able to sit down and start writing from the heart of me. Somehow was able to open up. And the more I went to different places within me, the deeper am I able to go. And the more I'm able to cultivate this kind of ongoing, regular practice of journaling. Now I journal almost every day, oftentimes early in the mornings when I wake up, sometimes reflections in the evenings if I need to process something. And the way I write and what I journal on has drastically shifted. This year specifically, and I think part of it is because in the beginning of this year and up to still this point, I'm going through a very difficult, challenging period of time in my personal relationship, in my marriage, where I'm at a crossroads, and I'm trying to figure out if I can stay, and what would that look like. And there's a big part of me that is on the way out. I would say 70% of me is on the way out. So it has been a very, very difficult year for me in that regard. So, I think having something you personally going through can also be a threshold to catapult one into journaling and opening up and writing in a way you didn't before. And it's really unfortunate that sometimes we need to go through pain, sometimes we need to be in touch with our wounds, that sometimes we need something painful to take place in our life for us to open up those places. You know what? For human beings, oftentimes that's how things work. So if you watched any of my previous journaling videos, you've noticed that I used to keep a very small, almost like a passport size journal notebook. And I consider myself pretty much a minimalist. And so I kept the same one, and I like things to be consistently the same. And I kept the same one for many years. And then I shifted to what now has been my journal for this studying. I actually started it in November of 2024, last year. I shifted to this size. And as you can see, I always have to be so careful because I write with fountain pens not to drop them. I'm almost done with it. I shifted to this size. And this is if you're wondering, this is A5. This is Moleskine Extended. It has 400 pages. I love it because it's chunky. I like to have one chunky journal. It looks like, even though I write so much, this is pretty much going to be about 1 year worth of, sorry, I have a fly in my office, 1 year worth of journaling. which I do like. I like that it's a yearly type of notebook for me, so that way when I see and collect them as I go along, it's going to be, I can see that this is 1 year, this is another year, unless of course I write more than I write now. So I like that it's extended and it's chunky, and I love the size where it's more narrow but quite tall. And I put the cover on it. This is a cover of image of Hecate from Jack Rail's Hecatian that I love. So I put it on here. I was watching Racine sharing her journals, and if you're familiar with her journaling, she likes to put, first of all, she likes different colors of journals, and she uses a different type of journal, and then she puts different images on front and back. And every time I see it, or every time I see anybody in a tarot world sharing their bulletin journaling, their journaling practices, and they do the type of collaging on the top, I want to do it so bad. There's like a little kid inside me that wants to do it. But I also know that the minute that I do it, I then don't like it, because at the heart, again, I'm such a minimalist, and I the minute I depart from color black, which I have done before, even when I departed to a red journal, I regretted it. So I have to keep myself true to who I am and admire other people's artwork at a distance. So this is how I like to keep it. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you, in a contrast to the small journaling from which I departed, is to encourage you, and I spoke about it too, to think about, if you are switching between sizes of journals, to ask yourself what that might be telling you. I found within myself that for me to depart from a very small journal to something that is bigger and something that is chunkier was almost my subconscious telling me, communicating to me, you're ready to write more, you're ready to open up more. It is as if the departure to the size you're shifting to. Or even consider for yourself, if you have always written in a black journal and you are departing to a color journal, what that might be telling you. Because I do believe that there is a reason why we're making particular selective choices. And I find those so interesting to think through and to ponder through. So for me, this makes complete sense. I did not realize why I was putting Hecate at November. Now it makes complete sense, because talk about being at the crossroads for majority of the year in regards to my relationship issues. I will, in fact, continue with Hecate. I have the same size journal that I prepared for study class that I pretty much didn't really use much at all. That I put this is another image from Jack Rails as well, and then I have this amazing other image that I took a copy of. And I was going to use this next after this journal runs out, but I just don't feel like this represents where I'm heading. Image-wise, it looks like, the Orpheus egg, the transformative part of your life. And I think this is going to be the next one. I'm going to be actually using this one because I strongly feel like this is another Jack Rails card that came with the book. But I'm going to use this one because I feel that where I'm moving to is a blue season after I finish this one. A season of healing, a season of grief. Because ultimately me and my husband separating for a short period of time to figure things out. And so I just really strongly feel like I'm moving into a blue season. I have Rose Space Oracle coming in, hopefully on Monday. I'm really excited for it. I picked up some books that were recommended by Racine. I also have my absolutely favorite movie, which I encourage all of you to watch if you haven't seen it. It is by Krzysztof Kieslowski, Polish director. It's Three Colors Blue. It's a trilogy. They're not necessarily connected, but they are kind of connected, but you can watch them standalone. There's red, white, and blue. And out of three of them, blue is the one that I have seen a million times because there's something about the movies that I strongly identify with. And it is a movie about grief. It is a movie about loss and sadness. So I will be rewatching that as well. So pay attention to, if you are journaling, to even, are you moving from a larger to a smaller size, or from a smaller to a larger, from black to color? If you are using images, clearly pay attention to what images you're putting on, because they all carry wealth of information. And I shared before decks that I think are helpful for journaling. What I have found recently that has been really helpful for me in this process time, because I've really been wanting to go inwards, and I really have been wanting to particularly pay attention to storytelling of my life. And I'm bringing up storytelling specifically because storytelling and paying attention to what narrative we tell ourselves, paying attention to how we narrate a story that we're currently in, the story where we're going, and the story where we come from, is incredibly important. As a psychologist, I can't stress how important storytelling is, paying attention, most importantly, to storylines, to the narratives in our lives. Because it is through story and shifting the story and modifying the story and changing the direction, actually, of the story in our lives that we're able to not only make changes, but we're able to heal, we're able to let go of suffering, we're able to do so much. In psychology, when it comes to trauma work, I don't believe we ever fully heal. I believe what we do, let me rephrase it, I don't believe we ever truly heal trauma. I believe what we do is we help individuals to make shifts in the story around the painful incident that happened to them, not to forget what happened to them, not to diminish or dismiss the pain they went through, but to change it, to help them see other aspects of the story that can empower them, that can help celebrate them, that can help bring healing to the surface. And that's the power of the storytelling that I want to talk about today. When we use tarot and oracle decks for our personal spiritual practices, tarot and oracle, without a doubt, of course, are storytelling tools. This is why they're so powerful. This is why a lot of us are drawn to having larger than one or two deck collections, because they're all different. They're all curated differently. They all carry different images. And for some of us, it's easier to work with certain images, harder with others. We tend to be pulled and drawn and attracted to some and less than others. I'm also reminded, I'm going to link down below Susan Chang's, her new, she has a podcast, I'm sure a lot of you know. She had a great interview with Mary Greer, and they touch base on the storytelling, the myths of storytelling of tarot, which was really great interview. I'm going to link it below. So storytelling is important. Sometimes I struggle with the storytelling using tarot because there is a system embedded in it. There are archetypal principles embedded in it. For that reason, I personally, for me, find that oracles, especially oracles where there are no guidebooks or where there's very little guidebooks, are much more helpful because they help my imagination to start becoming the primary writer of the stories that I see unfold in front of me. Become the primary writer of deciding where the story is going to go. It gives me ownership and penmanship, if you will. And I find that incredibly powerful. Lately, this is how I've been processing what's been happening with me. I have been trying very hard not to use tarot to tell me predictive outcomes about my relationship because, surprise, surprise, it just tells me my anxieties or things I'm worried about. I've been just trying to focus on myself, trying to focus on what do I need, trying to focus on how I feel, trying to focus on what is the story is about. Which elements of the story do I need to change? Which elements are no longer suitable to me, are no longer something that I'm okay with? And so for that reason, a lot of oracle decks have been incredibly helpful, but there's one in particular that I recently got, and then there's another one that is much more familiar to all of you that I got together, have been very instrumental. The reason why I bring up journaling is because this is what also helps me, and I think will help a lot of you who struggle with journaling, because storytelling and looking at the cards, and I think, like I said, we already all do that, right? Because tarot is a story. But to look at the cards much more actively, much more in the seat of, okay, I am a director of this movie, or I am screenwriter of this scene. I have 3 cards in front of me. What scene it tells me in this part of my life, right? Where's the scene going? Where is it coming from? Do I like where this movie is going? The screenplay that I'm writing for this film, do I like the direction where it is going? And this puts us in much more active role of our life to co-creating what we actually want to manifest, what we actually want to have in our life, versus being passive observers, versus being passive participants. So, the decks that I'm talking about is, and if you know this deck, comment below, let me know if you like it. The artwork in this deck is very similar to Tarot Mystical Moments, which is, I'm going to admit, not exactly my cup of tea. But I just cannot disregard how helpful this deck has been for me. When I did the first reading, it made me tear up. It literally showed me a story internally that I had a hard time to just admitting to myself. And that was incredibly powerful and empowering for me, and humbling. And to be honest, more than anything, it was really, really sad and heartbreaking to see that. This is an oracle deck called Elizabeth on Earth. I'll link it below. It's independently produced Etsy deck. It's not a new deck. Kelly from Truth and Story did review on this deck, a full walkthrough on pretty much majority of this deck that you can find and watch. This basically is my understanding. So there's 4 decks together. And Elizabeth, the creator, I think used to sell each one. Each one contains 28 cards. Each one separately. Now what she did, she combined part 1, 2, and 3 into jumbo deck, and she sells it as just one big deck. And then you could add on part 4. I have all 4. So it's 28 times 4. You do the math. There's a few cards that are variations of the same archetype, which I removed. So for me, it's total 108 cards. These are the backs. It doesn't come with guidebook. And the creator consciously puts in a message there that she did not want it to have no guidebook, because she wants this to be an intuitive self storytelling, or just self. I don't know if she used that. I don't remember if she used a storytelling deck. On her website, she has all of the images, and she has her own kind of story behind the image. And she's a photographer herself, so all of the images she uses herself as a model, which I do like, because it has this protagonist, this woman in this jumbo story that I'm drawing from, that I can then project myself onto, or project my aspects onto. This is not AI art. This is all art that she created, and like I said, she uses herself. And there are very interesting keywords on the bottom, like this one says against time, this one says lesson. As you can see, the artwork is such that if you put, this one says joy in the shadows, that if you put 3, 4, 5, 7 cards together, you get a springboard. Such an amazing springboard, especially if you look at it as the way that I look at it. This one says see me, as a springboard to actively tell a story. And the way that I work with this deck is I actively ask, in this healing process, where am I in the story? And then I look at the cards and I see where I'm at the story. And then I actively co-create and ask what I want to change. It has some whimsical cards, but it's not as this one called Protection Spell. Camera is not going to adjust in time, so I'd really encourage for you to see if you can. This one says Kindred, if you can see whole review. This is the one that I love, this one, Relic. Look at that. She's through the threshold of wands. There we go. Once upon a time. So you can see, I think, immediately how this deck is really, really good for storytelling. It's just made for it. Like I said, no guidebook. And I have by now have started to create my own understanding of some of the cards. But also I noticed that the understanding of the cards shifts depending on the story I'm trying to understand and to unfold. This deck has been creating some amazing journaling for me. It's very imaginative. Like I said, she gives you, like this one says empty nest. She gives you some jumping off points, but they're not, not the most in your very kind of concrete keywords. It's enough to get you to imagine things. For example, this one says the hideout, the ghost. Where are you in all of this? And I've been really enjoying this. Like I said, the art is not exactly what I would be initially drawn to, but I don't have any other oracle deck like this. I don't think, I have to look, but I don't think off the top of my head that is so good at creating storylines. And I feel like right now, the world that we live in and what's happening in the world, I feel like more than ever, we need to be able to tap into our own storytelling. I feel that a lot of us, by the way, she has some cards that are Dryad, which I love. This one, Dryad of Death and Rebirth. This is exactly where I'm at right now. I feel that right now, with everything that's going on, a lot of us feel disempowered. A lot of us feel out of control. A lot of us feel frustrated. And I don't know about you, I'm personally really struggling to sit with everything that's going on in the world and to observe what's taking place in the world. It's hard for me to be part of the world where we as a collective humanity inflict so much pain and hurt. And it's just really difficult. I think it's difficult not to want to avoid things, not to want to escape into things, not to want to become jaded or have jaded attitude. And starting to become people who are, look at this card, the writer, literally are writers of our own story, is, I think, something that a lot of us can use today. So another thing that I love about this deck, and I'm not going to go through all of the deck, but I just want to show you some of the cards. Where she lives, apparently, there's a lot of bears. And there's a few images here with the bear, and it got me so smitten because, well, bears are close to me because I'm Russian, so it's a very Russian thing, right? But also, my husband, kind of nickname for me is the bear. So there's that, as I take a deep, heavy sigh, right? There's that element to it. So this is Elizabeth Unearthed. I have all four of them. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful tool. If you're struggling journaling, if you're struggling with letting your imagination fly, I think this is such a wonderful addition. There's no guidebook. You have no choice but to start creating story. And sometimes, as funny as it sounds, talking out loud can help. Talking out loud, as if you're reading cards for somebody else, can help. There's something about detaching ourselves from the reading that can make us feel like can give us, I would say, that permission and trust not to mess it up, or that ability to be playful. The one that I recently got that I've been combining with this deck is the Oracle deck that a lot of you know. I had this one many months ago, many years ago. It's Reclaim Yourself Oracle, also indie produced. And I didn't vibe with it. Funny how things we don't vibe with, and when they come back, they tend to come back just at the right time in my life, especially right now. I cannot tell you how fortunate I have been. I have had just the right tools pop up in my forefront to purchase. Exactly the right tools that I need for what's happening with me right now. I have stumbled upon individuals on YouTube who do tarot readings for horoscopes that have been so tapping into my situation in the most uncanny way that has been so helpful. There are spirits watching over me and guiding me and helping me, and that has been so helpful. So this one came back into my life, and what's so great about this is that it's so focused on emotions, feelings. It's focused on all of these internal elements that we need in order to cultivate growth, to cultivate healing, to let go of things, to recognize things. And in combination with Elizabeth Unearthed, this is such a great deck in of itself, exactly for storytelling of emotions, storytelling of internal state, more than anything. Whereas Elizabeth Unearthed tells an overall arching story. This one taps deeper into, but what are the feelings underneath this? What are the feelings? For example, if I pull 3 cards from Elizabeth's Oracle, and then underneath it, I pull 1 card for each one of those cards, asking, what are the feeling tone here that I'm not seeing? This can bring up elements, shadow aspects you're not seeing. And in telling a storyline of how you feel and where those feelings are going and what do you need to get to the place you want to go, this has been such a gem, such a great deck to work with. And I have a strong feeling that I am getting crow space blue bonds. Is it actually called blue bonds, or is it just bonds? I think it is called blue bonds. I have such a strong feeling that I'm getting it for reason right now where I'm at. There's something about the deck that also feels to me, and I could be totally wrong, that it was created. I think all of Rose Space creations are very personal. I have a feeling that one in particular was created during healing, grieving maybe, but that blue, what we would call a blue period. And blue periods are so interesting. It makes me think of Picasso's blue painting period. If you haven't seen it, it's a very fascinating period in his artistic career venture. It's quite a departure from a lot of his other periods. And there is an element of, when I think about color blues, there's an element of nostalgia. There's an element of wanting to. I should have grabbed. I have this book where this writer has such an amazing definition of nostalgia. And if you haven't seen Andrei Tarkovsky Nostalgia movie, it's wonderful. It is wonderful. But it's an earning this inner desire to return to the place of remembrance, to a particular place, to a particular experience, to a particular feeling. And I think when we're going through grief and loss, when I go through grief and loss, of course, I want to return to that. And the grieving part, the healing part, is to be recognized that that chapter, that part that you're nostalgic for, will always be there, but it's no longer accessible to you. That's really sad. That's really sad. But that's also life. things in life change. And if you weren't wise enough to value, I'm getting like a little emotional. If you weren't wise enough to value and preserve something that was so important to you, you're going to be in that nostalgic place. You're going to be in that place where you're going to be earning for it. You know, it's a loss. Nostalgia is, to me, often is a loss. It comes with a feeling of grief too. So there we go, talking about the blue period, and I haven't even stepped into it yet. So if you have this deck, Elizabeth on Earth, what have you experienced being with it like? Do you have other decks, oracles especially, that you feel are such storytellers to use it? Tap into the storyline. If you do, share below. I always love discovering new decks. It's the best way to share decks that I come across with all of you, and then to have all of you share the decks you love down below. Then I can go on a scavenger hunt and discover for myself. So hopefully this is has been helpful to those of you who struggle with journaling. You're not alone if that happens to you. And I will see you all in the next video. I think the next video I'm going to be making is when I'm going to get the blue bonds, because how can I not talk about it? So yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.